Welcome to Global Flashback. Today we are diving into major US-Russia summits that changed history, from Cold War cheers to post-Soviet partnership. We've got where, who and what happened. US President Franklin Roosevelt and Soviet Premier Joseph Stalin, alongside Britain's Winston Churchill, met to plan the end of World War II. They carved up post-war Europe, but Stalin secured Soviet influence over Eastern Europe. The Allies agreed to the setting up of the United Nations, an organization dedicated to international cooperation and prevention of war. In July 1945, Potsdam, Germany hosted a pivotal summit. US President Harry Truman, Soviet Premier Joseph Stalin, and British Prime Ministers Winston Churchill, then Clement Attlee, met to shape the post-World War II world. They finalized Germany's division and demilitarization. The Potsdam Declaration demanded Japan's surrender, escalating the war's end. Its policies were dedicated by the 5 Ds decided upon at Yalta: demilitarization, denazification, de-democratization, decentralization, and deindustrialization. Tension rose as Stalin's Eastern Europe control clashed with Western goals, marking a turning point in global politics. President Richard Nixon and Soviet leader Leonid Brezhnev signed the Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty, SALT, the most significant of the agreements reached during the summit. The treaty limited the United States and the USSR to 200 anti-ballistic missiles each. They were to be divided between 2 defensive systems. President Nixon returned to the United States on May 30th. The Reykjavik summit, held on October 1986, was the second meeting of US President Ronald Reagan and Soviet General Secretary Mikhail Gorbachev, following up on the previous year's Geneva summit. Reagan and Gorbachev continued to work towards and debate the possible terms of nuclear arms reduction in Reykjavik. The 2 leaders did not reach an agreement, though many diplomats and experts consider the summit a turning point in the Cold War. President George H.W. Bush and Russian President Boris Yeltsin signed START II, slashing nuclear warheads, a post-Cold War win for arms control, cementing a new US-Russia friendship. President Bill Clinton of the United States of America and President Boris Yeltsin of Russia Federation declared their firm commitment to a dynamic and effective US-Russia partnership that strengthens international stability. The 2 presidents approved a comprehensive strategy of cooperation to promote democracy, security, and peace. President Yeltsin stressed his firm commitment to fostering democratization, the rule of law, and market economy. President Clinton assured President Yeltsin of active American support for the Russian people as they pursued their own chosen course of political and economic reforms. In May 2002, Moscow hosted a landmark summit. US President George W. Bush and Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a Strategic Offensive Reduction Treaty, or SALT, slashing nuclear warheads. This built on post-Cold War arms control efforts. Putin also backed US anti-terrorism moves in Afghanistan post 9/11, strengthening ties. On July 2018, in Helsinki, US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin met at the presidential palace. The 2-hour private talk, with only interpreters, covered Syria and Ukraine. On August 15, 2025, Alaska will host a high-stakes summit between US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. The first is Helsinki 2018. They'll tackle the Russia-Ukraine crisis, now over 3 years old. Trump pushes for a ceasefire with potential land swaps, while Putin demands Ukraine cede annexed regions. We just have to wait and watch, but the summit could reshape European security or deepen tensions. From Yalta's post-war plans to Alaska's summit, continuous talks between US-Russia have shaped our world, sometimes with treaties, sometimes with tension. Keep watching News Mobile with all the latest news on the upcoming Alaska summit.